that's a lot of money, time, and resources spent for something that wasn't going to be used. So I figured it out. It's like everything I was cutting, none of it made me cry. I loved the excitement of being terrified and not being able to look away, but wanting to see more at the same time. That definitely stuck with me. That's what makes the difference between something that's just trying to be gross and shocking, and something that might be both of those things, but is pushing a narrative, an arc that we're following, and has an impact on you, not just like, oh, gross, or, you know. The Hollywood Dream. The Hollywood Dream.
Hello and welcome to the Hollywood Dream podcast, the podcast where we talk to film and TV professionals about their journey towards reaching that big Hollywood dream, whatever that might be to them. And in today's episode, I'm chatting with Kristin Noriega. Kristin is an actress turned indie writer, director. She has a horror short film that is doing the festival rounds right now. I met Kristin a while ago. We worked together. And not only is she a horror fan, she is also a horror director. And in a genre where only about 6% of the directors are women, Kristin is working towards making a name for herself. How's it going? How's life treating you?
It's going really well. I'm still traveling around to different festivals with the horror short that I made here and there.
I know. I saw that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's the short about?
So it's a horror movie. It's about a woman going through a really bad breakup, sort of spiraling, and she has her apartment invaded by sewer creatures from the underground of New York City. So she ends up having to kind of fight her way out of both of those things.
Nice. How long is it?
It's 17 minutes.
Oh, that's a good length.
Yeah.
What made you this? I saw that I watched this interview you did with a different podcast, and you mentioned you went to school for journalism. What made you decide to switch careers to go from journalism to film?
So I wanted to go to film school, and my parents were like, we're not, you can do that in graduate school if you'd like. I chose the closest thing I could find to like screenwriting, which was journalism. Like I like writing, so I got through a couple of years of it, and I didn't really like the direction that particular program, which I won't mention, was going. It was very like business oriented versus like integrity of journalism kind of thing. So I left that school, went to a different school, and changed over to political science, which is just something fun that I wanted to do. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. But at that school, I got involved in the theater program. I would just, anytime I was in class, I was over in the theater, helping with like wigs, costumes, assisted stage managing, got into stage managing, started auditioning and acting, moving your way through like ensemble up to like lead role eventually. And also during that time, I had friends in film school. And anytime I could be on one of their sets, I would hold a boom or drive the equipment truck, or they would cast me in things too. So I was getting kind of more hands-on education, even though I wasn't necessarily at school for the arts, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that sort of set me on my path because I just wanted to keep chasing that feeling that I had on stage, pretty much. So
yeah,
I've been doing that ever since.
And you started acting first, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't until 2019 that I wrote something, and just decided to direct it as well as star in it. So it's kind of dove in.
That seems like what, because that's how I started doing too. Like I started acting, but then I started writing and just kind of doing your own stuff, because that seems to be the way to go sometimes.
For sure, yeah.
How was your experience producing and directing your first short?
Um, I think the hardest part was crowdfunding. I'm in no rush to do that again, even though it's necessary.
I know.
It was so there were times when it was so
I
terrifying, and I knew that it would be. What were we gonna say?
mhm.
Yeah,
I did it once, and I was like, I'm never doing this again.
yeah.
I hate asking people for money. I was like,
I
oh,
know. Yeah. So I lost track of the rest of that question, which was
how was the process to like filming, directing your
uh,
own project?
um for me it was easier because I had worked with this specific team a handful of times before as an actor. So like
Uh
that
huh.
producer, that cinematographer, production designer, we all knew each other very well at that time. Um and so they were like really on board for making something with me, which is helpful when you have a team who has all of the equipment that they're willing to rent to you for like a
Mm-hmm.
fraction of the cost, and everyone works at a
Yeah.
reduced rate. So I could pay them not full rate, but we just gelled very well, and that made a huge difference, especially in terms of my confidence on set as well, because we all knew each
Uh-huh.
other already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good to work with people that you know. It's less nerve wracking because they understand like what you're going through and they know you, so they're more flexible.
It helps to calm the nerves too, especially when you're trying
Yeah.
something new.
So what was the inspiration behind When You're Gone?
I love horror movies. At the time, I had been recast in a project that I'd helped develop, and I was recast because the project got funding. And so they said, we hope you understand we'll be looking for a name actor now that we have funding. So that really knocked me down, like, self-esteem wise. I've been acting for over 10 years, and it just, uh, yeah, put me in kind of a dark place. And I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna write a role for myself. I love horror. I love the urban legends of like alligators living in the sewers and things like that. So let me just combine these things and make a
Yeah.
thing. So, and I had the team of people I knew would hopefully be on board. If I didn't have a team already, it would have been much scarier, I guess, to make that decision. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, that helped a lot.
How long did it take you to get the movie done?
So I wrote the first version of it in 2018, and then made the decision and the ask to the production team, I think early 2021. And then we did the crowdfunding in the fall of 2021. And then we shot in February 2022. So I guess from 2018 to
Then.
2022 is the full arc of that, from conception to finishing it.
And did you face like any challenges when you were filming aside from the crowdfunding? Was there like any challenges that you had to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, there's always issues that come up on set, but one was we had only factored in, I think, 2 FX days, and we had 5 days total of shooting. But then the FX team, we figured out we needed more than that. So I had to go in and slash a ton of my script in order to get it all done, because the effects were the most important part for me. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad that I did, because it's 17 minutes long. Like, it's a short. So that all of that stuff would have
Yeah.
ended up on the cutting room floor anyway. That's a lot of money, time, and uh, yeah, um, resources spent for something that wasn't going to be used. So I figured it out. It's like everything I was cutting, none of it made me cry to cut. So I felt like, okay, well, it couldn't have been that important, I guess.
It's
Yeah.
like that's good.
Yeah.
Um so what do you oh wait, you said you hire a FX team. Was that expensive?
Yeah. So
Was that the most expensive thing?
that was a third of our budget, and I knew it would be.
Oh my god.
That was the hardest person to find, because I was asking a lot in my script for, we just didn't have that kind of money So I understood folks I would talk to who either couldn't afford to do it or just wouldn't do it for that amount. Like, I completely understood. Um, and I was listening to a podcast one day, and there was a guest talking about makeup effects. And I just like felt like I could listen to this guy talk all day about like creature features and monster effects and Godzilla, and let me just reach out to him. You know, you use your IMDb Pro subscription to like, what's his email? You know, how can I get in touch with him? I'm like, I know that I can't afford him, but maybe he has some folks that work under him or apprentice or what have you that are looking to really like cut their teeth on something for a smaller amount. And so I emailed him. We had a phone call, and by the end of that phone call, he had agreed to do it himself. And he could afford to because he has his own studio. He's been doing it for years and years. So he could actually repurpose a lot of things he already had in the studio. So that money didn't have to be spent on new resources.
Yeah.
We got really lucky. Yeah.
I know. I have a subscription for IMDb Pro. That's how I found this lady that I just met with for the podcast. It was through IMDb Pro. She's like, how do you find me?
Yeah.
I'm like, your email was on IMDb Pro.
Yeah. It's worth that, what is it, $20 a month or whatever it is, honestly.
I know.
Yeah, it's good.
I bought the yearly, and then I forgot that I had the yearly, and then it got renewed, and I was like, where's my money?
Exactly.
And then I remember, I was like, oh, IMDb. God damn it. You mentioned you're like a horror fanatic, a horror fan. What are is that a type of movies that you want to make, horror films? And what are some of your influences that help you create your own work?
Yeah, growing up, it was just my mom and I for a while. She was, you know, single and going to school and working a job. So I stayed with grandma quite often. And grandma would often plop me in front of her TV. And she had HBO, which at the time was like a big deal. It's whatever. But I watched a lot of movies I shouldn't have, like a lot of horror movies. One is called Legend. All of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Jaws, Cujo. Yeah, those are ones that come to mind that like are just those images all emblazoned on my 4-year-old brain. So those definitely were big influences. I loved the excitement of being terrified and not being able to look away, but wanting to see more at the same time. That definitely stuck with me. Yeah, and she also had like the biggest Disney collection you can imagine. So it was either horror movies or Disney movies when I was 4 and 5. So it's a weird combination.
That's such a huge contrast.
Yeah,
it's a huge contrast, Disney and then horror.
Exactly. But yeah, those were my big influences, for sure.
Who are some of your favorite directors?
Right now, Issa Lopez. She is a Mexican director. She's directing the newest series of True Detective with Jodie Foster and I forget who else. But she made a movie called Tigers Are Not Afraid. And that like blew up at the genre festivals. And got picked up by, there's a streaming platform called Shudder, which is like all horror movies. She's just, I get really excited about her. Yeah. So I love that movie. It's horror, but it's also like fairy tale, magical realism. It stars a bunch of kids. It's good stuff. So I'm excited to see more from her. I know she's also developing a werewolf western with Guillermo del Toro. So I'm excited for that. Yeah, I'm trying to think which other directors. She's like the one that just immediately comes to mind, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any underrated horror movies that you think people should give a chance?
Night of the Living Dead. It's really...
Oh my God, you know, that movie, I watched it when I was 13, and that movie horrified me. I was so scared. I had to ask, at the time I shared my room with my cousin, and I was like, can I sleep in your bed?
Yeah, I can imagine.
That movie scared me so much.
Yeah, I actually hadn't seen it. of course I knew what it was and I had those images in my head, but I hadn't watched it until like I think 2020. I had all this time on my hands now, and it was just I was so blown away by how current, like, it still resonates. I think it was made in 68. But it's also like a testament to independent filmmaking. That entire thing that like set the tone for all of these zombie spin-offs of every different kind television and TV that we have now. But it's also just an incredible story that gets told. So I would say like definitely like give it a watch. It's worth it. It's worth your time.
Are there any horror movies that you're looking forward to this year?
Evil Dead Rises. Yeah.
I know. I seen the preview for that. I'm gonna go watch that with I have a friend who he's like a horror fanatic. So we're supposed to go see it together.
Awesome. That is gonna be the most fun to see in the theater with like a bunch of people having these reactions at the same time. I love that. I love it. Excited. For sure.
And it has gotten so many good reviews too on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I think it has a high score. I forgot the score, but it's pretty high.
Yeah. It looks fantastic.
I know. I always say that I would love to be in a horror movie. Like that's one of my goals.
Yeah.
To get killed in a horror movie.
Not only to be in a horror movie, but to be killed. Yeah.
Yeah, to be killed.
Like a creative kill. Yeah.
What do you think makes a good horror movie? Like a good horror script? What is the secret to making a good horror movie?
Honestly,
now that you've made one.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't want to lump mine into, because there's amazing horror movies out there. And I think what they all share in common, honestly, is their heart. That's what makes the difference between something that's just trying to be gross and shocking and something that might be both of those things, but is pushing a narrative, an arc that we're following, and has an impact on you, not just like, oh, gross, or, I can't believe they did that on camera. It's definitely heart. If you watch something like even Nightmare on Elm Street, you can tell like someone is telling a story and it comes across and it's seamless. It doesn't get boring. It just flows. And I would say that's the most important thing. It's definitely heart, like putting love into it.
Yeah, not just put a bunch of scenes together and just splatter blood everywhere.
Exactly. Yep.
In your pursuit of this career, what is the best advice that anyone or a mentor has given you?
Sure. It came kind of recently. I have a dear friend that I've known since we were like itty bitty, and she's just one of those consummate creatives. She's always, she's a dancer. She's a dance teacher. She started a dance film festival. She just made a Tiny Human a few years ago. So whenever we catch up, I'm always like sort of reinvigorated. And we were just talking about, how the quote unquote day job may never go away. You may never be able to get all of your income from your artistic pursuits. But that's okay. It's just about what your heart needs, what your soul needs, and like just continuing to create and understanding that making it is not the same for everybody. So that really stuck with me because I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like make it. And if you haven't reached a certain point by a certain time, it's like, what are you doing? But I don't know, that really stuck with me and helps me to continue to create even as I go into my day job every day, yeah, I'd say that's it.
Speaking of like making it, what is your definition of making it, and like what is your ultimate goal?
My definition of making it is quite literally that, like making things, just getting it out of your system, whatever that is, like writing, if it's animation, music, but just letting it out. Like it's important, not only for your health, mentally, spiritually, but there are other people who want to hear that story, that song, what have you. For me, I'm gonna have to figure it out because in a way I've already made it in the sense of like, I always just wanted to be that film at a festival where you never know if you'll ever see these films again. They're just showing once and they're not get picked up, especially shorts, right? But for someone to just like have a blast watching it and be like, thank you, thank you for making that. That was awesome. I loved it. Yeah, that will never get old. So I feel like that for me, if I continue to just create and make somebody's day after watching it, I'll keep doing that. I think that's making it for me.
Yeah, that's similar to me too. I just want to like be able to create things and inspire and entertain people somehow, some way through my, whether it be this podcast or movies.
Right.
I mean, making money will be nice too, but I feel like
yeah,
I just want to be able to express myself creatively. I've been doing this rapid fire questions with everyone. Will you be down to do a 2-minute round?
Sure.
The questions are all about you, so you can't get them wrong.
That's good.
So the number to beat is 18. No one has done it yet. So
18 answers.
It's all up to you.
Okay, got it.
Okay, okay, we'll go here. Okay, I'm gonna start the clock. Scariest movie you've ever seen?
Serpent and the Rainbow.
Favorite actor or actress?
Kate Blanchett.
Hardest class you've ever taken?
Pathophysiology.
First concert you went to?
Boys to Men featuring Montel Jordan.
Oh, the model of your first phone?
It was a Razor. Yeah.
What was your first car?
A Ford Taurus.
What fashion trend do you wish would come back?
Oh, good question. I guess we'll say, I don't know. Lord. Neon. We'll say neon. Just neon colors in general.
The last show you binge?
Oh, White Lotus.
Dream vacation?
Hawaii.
What celebrity shares your birthday?
Leslie Jones.
What was the last time you left your phone at home?
Today? It's here. I'm at home. I don't know.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Do you love or hate surprises?
I love them.
Favorite fast food chain?
McDonald's. It's boring.
Favorite ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip.
Flavor?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
I don't think I got that many.
Oh, you got 15. That's good.
Okay.
Almost.
Not bad. Close.
That's not bad. Before I let you go, I don't want to take too much of your time. Is there any advice for anyone who wants to start making their own films?
I would say find like-minded folks. Facebook is a great tool for that, finding like social meetups. If you like, horror movies or sci-fi movies, follow those groups. Just like get involved in mixers and things like that. Because once you realize that you have a network of folks supporting you, and you can all work together, that makes it so much easier when you want to make a thing.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. I'm glad that you invited me. I feel honored. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for your short film.
Yeah.
When is your next festival?
As of right now, it's in June. It's a brand new first year festival. It's a horror festival in Manchester, England, United Kingdom. So I've never been. I'm just gonna go. I love that it's the very first year. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's called
nice.
Gasp. Yeah, I'm excited. That's the next one.
That's exciting. Well, have
Yeah.
fun over there.
Thank you.